usually what I'm asked to do is come and speak to different conferences about different issues. And it's really good to come along and speak about a theme or a topic or political idea or something. But I guess today, being back here was quite special for me. I relate to this issue quite personally, and to speak to other young people and other Scottish young people is something that I'm really excited to be able to do, and actually a wee bit nervous about as well sometimes. And I wanted to talk a bit about me personally and my own journey and how I think that really connects to the No Knives Better Lives campaign and what we're trying to do. And in short, I'm going to speak for about 15 minutes, and I wanted to just simply tell you 2 stories and confess to something, if that's okay with you guys. I come from Edinburgh, and a place in Edinburgh called Pilton. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. That's it there. And you know what Edinburgh is, I don't need to tell you guys that. But often if I are speaking to different groups who are not from Scotland, I like to show them this. And here's some of the photos of my community. It's quite hard hitting sometimes. There might be scenes that a lot of us would recognise. But that's often how the media portray where I'm from. That's how often people not from there would see that. It's kind of lots of trouble, lots of issues. And every single one of these pictures is where I've had a room or I've lived there. If you look at the top right, my house is actually not there anymore, there's a bulldozer going through it. That house there is now gone as well. This was my bedroom is at the top of them flats, and I remember the day that the nursery was set on fire. I think by one of my cousins actually, but we never got to the bottom of that. And I was born in the other flats at the top there. And it was hard, it wasn't easy. And I wasn't the guy who would stand up and speak to a group of young people. There was lots of crime on the streets, lots of people weren't that into school. The schools were sometimes judged a wee bit as being crap schools, not the best, by other people. I got bullied when I was a bit younger. It was quite difficult. And lots of people think communities are hard because of what happens on the streets. But for me, the thing that I always found really difficult was some of the challenges on the other side of the front doors as well, in people's homes, and the invisible reality for people. And I was a usual kind of normal guy. I was kind of just getting along with things, kind of in the local area like we all do. And I wasn't really that motivated about life. I was probably not that excited like everyone else. I was kind of hanging around with people I shouldn't have been. I was maybe doing things that I shouldn't have been. I was maybe smoking things that I shouldn't have been. Different stuff, normal kind of person in that area. And I remember coming across a young guy who lived quite nearby to me in my community. And he used to write stuff down and had a really hard time. And I remember him giving me a letter. And it was a bit of a diary that he wrote to himself. And I wanted to kind of read that out to you guys today, if that's okay. And this is a letter, and I think it was about probably 11, 12, 13 maybe at the time, maybe the age of some of us here. And this is what his diary said. I really hate my life. Sometimes I wish I was just dead. The community is horrible. The drugs, the police, the crime. It was only like 2 nights ago when another young teenager was stabbed with a knife. I hope he's okay. I never see my dad. Good, after taking all those drugs is horrible. Apparently people were saying that he'd been even using needles and injecting at one point. I wish I just had a normal family. I've never once seen my mum or dad or anyone get up to go to work or have a job. My mum often just sits at home depressed. It's really sad though. She doesn't have a lot of money or any support. We had to go without any electricity yesterday. The dampness and the mould in my room in the winter is also making me really ill. It's horrible. And I hate going outside as well because of the people there. When I go to sleep, sometimes I don't ever want to wake up. I feel trapped. I have nothing to be positive about. No one cares about us young people here. My life will never, ever change. And that was a 12-year-old boy. And that really hit me very hard actually. And I kind of thought, being treated like that for no reason other than being born, it was a real shame and a real waste. And that really motivated me to want to make a difference. And I started to get involved in local community projects and local youth work initiatives, nothing special, just doing my wee bit as I seen it and trying to kind of raise awareness of this stuff. And I was really lucky as well to get to go to Malawi. Who's heard of Malawi? Most people, it's really high profile, really good partnership with Scotland, one of the poorest countries in the world in Africa. And when I was there, I met a young guy called Frederick. Now, Frederick was born in the same month and the same year as me. And I went there feeling a bit angry with life, not really overly motivated, kind of thinking, what's the point? Life's so bad for me, we get it so hard where I'm from. And I met Frederick, born in one of the poorest countries in the world, and he said his parents were taken away from him by HIV, AIDS and malaria, like so many kids there. He was orphaned. One of the poorest countries, had nowhere to live. He lived in a clay pipe for a year and a half of his life. It's horrible listening to this. Now, he had every reason to be bitter. He had every reason to be angry. He had every reason to hate God, to hate society, to not bother, to give up. Every reason. And for a smaller man, it would have beat him. But instead, what I was looking at was a young guy who was going, John, the difference for me was I wanted to change this. He said, I got it hard, and I know what it's like to be an orphan here. And I don't want other young orphans to go through what I had to go through in this country. And he said, what I now do is I run an orphanage, helping about 200 young orphans in one of the poorest countries in the world. And I give them love, I give them breakfast, and I send them to school. Things I never had. And that really struck me. I was blown away. And I was thinking, how on earth in this country, with no government funding, no big projects, no support funds, no nice Better Lives campaigns, nothing. How did he do this? Where did you get the money? How did you get the building? How did you build a team? All the questions you would normally think. And he said, John, you're asking the wrong questions. And he said to me really simply, the world thinks in black and white. I stopped thinking in black and white. And I started to dream in full colour. And he just held his gaze at me. Now, when I say that now, it feels like it means absolutely nothing. But at the time, it meant absolutely everything. And his energy and positivity just really hit me. And he'd made a choice to change. And his attitude was one of positivity. And it was phenomenal. And that really struck me. And I got home and realised, do you know what? My postcode and my parents should not decide my future. The world's not going to change for me, so I need to change for myself. And so I started to really try and be more positive than I ever was and started to change that. And from this, I really worked hard to try and make my dreams happen. And I managed to start to get more involved in different projects. I got involved in the youth parliament. I got involved in the local council. I started to volunteer, helping other young people who were having a hard time, like the young guy in that letter. And I'm really, really lucky. I've done loads and loads of different things now. And one of the things I was really passionate about was politics and changing the way young people are perceived. We're told time after time that young people are the problem. And I was really clear that actually that's wrong. Young people, in my opinion, were the solution to a lot of these problems. And I was happy to tell absolutely anybody who was going to listen. I don't have a degree at university. I'm not the best looking, most popular, most intelligent person. I was just a normal guy who had a heart to make something different. I was lucky enough at the top there to meet the Queen. She's the one in the dress. That's me. And I said to her about where I was from, about my community. And I said to her about my passion for young people being the leaders of today, not just the leaders of tomorrow. And obviously you know who the other guy is there. This is the president of Nigeria, one of the biggest African countries, Jacob Zuma, who eventually took over from Nelson Mandela as the head of state in South Africa. Some really powerful people. People I never thought I'd ever meet. And it was amazing. And I've been lucky to work in about 20 different countries, in America, in Australia, in Singapore, Germany, Belgium, France, Sri Lanka, Africa, lots of different places I've been able to travel to. Is a wee boy from Pilton, whose parents had never worked, who was bullied growing up, who was kind of judged, who didn't have a degree, who wasn't the most positive in the world. And I got to do all this amazing stuff. I got to campaign on issues that I was really passionate about. As a lot of you know, I ended up doing a random thing called Big Brother. But it sounds a bit cheesy, reality TV, how does that fit in? But young people watch reality. How many people have watched an episode of Big Brother in their life? Or The X Factor or whatever? How many people have watched First Minister's Questions or Prime Minister's Questions? Far fewer. You know, if I was in politics, it's easy for me to go to Parliament and meet the politicians, speak about young people. But I wanted to speak with young people. And so something like Big Brother, where millions of people were watching, I went up and I said, you know what, I'm involved in politics, but I'm not a stuffy, stuck-up political wannabe. I'm just a normal guy who's got ideas. And anyone can do that. We can all get involved in that. And that was my message. And I ended up moving down to London and working in public policy there, trying to advise the Prime Minister and different politicians on issues. And I've been lucky. I was called by Gordon Brown when he was Prime Minister and asked to go and host a commission on powers for the Scottish Parliament. A young person, a wee laddie from Pilton. I wasn't more intelligent, I wasn't better looking, I wasn't more popular still, unfortunately. But I had a passion for what I believed in and I spoke truth. And it was amazing for me. These are all things I never thought I'd ever achieve. Doing stuff in the media, politics, travelling, and never in my own company. No one's ever had a business if I didn't know what business was, wouldn't know where to start. And I said to myself when I quit my job last year and had no money and started from scratch, I would rather fail trying than regret never giving it a go. And that's why I called it Dare to Lead. We can all take leadership roles in our communities, in our lives, in our families, in ourselves. But we have to dare to do it. We have to have the courage and the gumption and the attitude to go out there and give it a go. And I guess for me today was about ABC. I remember someone said to me, it's about ABC, John. It's as simple as ABC. And what did that mean? A better choice. A better choice. And that's what today for me is about. It's about a better choice. And what's exciting about choices is we're in charge of choices, or we can work to be in charge of the choices we choose to make. Whether it's about getting involved in the campaign for the next year, whether it's about how you work with young people, about helping, about giving back, about what you want to do with your future. We can all make choices every day to be leaders. Hands up who's ever been told as a young person, you should be seen and not heard. Hands up who's ever been told, you should speak when you're spoken to. Who's ever been told, you respect your elders? I've been told all that. And I say, actually, I think young people should be seen and heard. I think we should speak and be spoken to. And I think everyone deserves respect, not just because you're old. You don't get to 21 or 18 and qualify for respect now when a wee certificate pops up. We are young people. As a generation, we need to say, actually, we're all in this together. We need to work together around respect and around leadership and around these things. And that is really, really important. One of my heroes, and he's famous, and it's a bit of a cliche sometimes, is Nelson Mandela, who said, it falls upon a generation to be great. And it's really, really my absolute belief that we are that generation. We can make the choices to be great, to be leaders, to run the communities as we want to see it. And people often say to me, I'd love to get involved and make a difference, but what's the bloody point? Nothing ever changes. Does anyone hold that opinion, honestly? I used to. Does anyone know a pal or anyone who holds that opinion? Almost everybody. And my view is what I say back is this big thing called leadership or politics. It might look like it's above you and what you can do. But for me, leadership is ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And what changes that is attitude and belief and confidence. It's not about degrees or money or the family you're from or wanting to be Prime Minister or any of that stuff or wanting to be a big businessman. It's about wanting to make the world a better place. It's about wanting to be the change, as we so often hear about. Our future needs to be designed by us. We are the best people to represent ourselves, and that's the message we need to send out there. There's a lot of talk just now about Scotland's future, London, Edinburgh, independence, the union, all these different stuff. And actually, do you know what, for me, when we hear about oil and money and economies and resources, well, let me say something to everybody out there. I believe that Scotland's greatest natural resource isn't oil or money or any of that stuff. It's our young people. It's us. We're a resource that needs to be invested in and supported and engaged with. And if we think of ourselves globally, the world's getting smaller. People are travelling more. We are the commanders of technology, of our new generation, the digital generation, internet. That makes us really powerful. We can speak to people all over the world and see it as an opportunity. It's exciting. You can go as far as you want. The only thing that will stop you living your dreams is you. And I realised that myself the hard way as well. And people talk about change. Oh, things are changing. I'll wait till it settles down a bit. And I've kind of realised that change is the new constant. Change is the new permanent. Things continue to change, and we can be at the heart of that stuff if we want to. And sometimes changing things in your community, whether it's something small or something big, can seem like a long road. But remember, even the longest marathons start with a single step. And today's a step, today's a leap. And every day, and I've listened to some of the stories of what we're doing in our communities, in our schools, in our youth groups, we're taking steps to get to that finish line of what we want to achieve. We can all serve, we can all help others, and that's what leadership's about. That's what No Knives, Better Lives is about. It's about us giving back to our communities and being community leaders to make Scotland and our areas a better place. And today's conference is about looking back, but about looking forwards. We're at a junction with No Knives, Better Lives. In the same way that I was in a junction in my life when I chose to come away from a really dangerous path of all the things that I could have fell into to try and change that. The world's at a junction. Scotland's at a junction. And what's really exciting is a better choice. We can make that choice. We can be that better choice to serve and be leaders. And it sounds really cheesy sometimes, but it's true because it worked for me. And I know if I never changed my attitude and changed my internal confidence, then probably nothing would have changed for me personally. And I guess my message is it's in your hands, it's in our hands to change it as we want. So I told you really two stories. I told you the letter from the boy, and I told you about Frederick in Malawi who dreamed in full colour. And I also promised you one confession. The boy in that letter was actually me. And from that letter, I stand here talking about that now. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the conference and really make the best choices you can to really make Scotland the place you want it to be going forwards. Thank you very much, guys.